Most people think sleep begins the moment you close your eyes, but the truth is, it starts much earlier. It begins with how well your internal clock, your circadian rhythm, is aligned. This internal rhythm is the foundation of how alert, focused, and restored you feel, not just when you sleep, but throughout the entire day. And when it's off, everything is off. Your mood, your immune system, your energy, and even your ability to learn and retain information. The circadian rhythm is governed by a master clock in the brain, located in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This clock orchestrates the timing of every process in your body, including hormone release, temperature regulation, and even when your genes turn on and off. This rhythm isn't static. It adapts and shifts based on cues from your environment, especially light. When you understand this, you realize that getting quality sleep isn't just about shutting off your phone before bed. It's about syncing your biology to a rhythm that nature has designed to support deep rest and high performance. Most people are disconnected from that rhythm. Artificial lights, erratic sleep schedules, late night screens, all of these confuse the body into thinking it's daytime when it's not. That confusion leads to shallow sleep, waking up groggy, and a constant feeling of being off balance. The solution doesn't come from just trying to sleep longer. It comes from anchoring your circadian rhythm properly. You do that by timing your behaviors to reinforce what your brain and body are supposed to do naturally. One of the most effective ways to do that is to expose yourself to natural sunlight within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. This sends a powerful signal to your brain that it's daytime. That signal cascades into the release of cortisol, not the stress hormone in the way most people think of it, but a healthy, time-locked pulse of energy that sets the tone for your whole day. That morning light exposure also starts a timer in your brain for melatonin to be released about 14 to 16 hours later, which is what helps you wind down and fall asleep when night comes. The rhythm is real. And when you align with it, your body rewards you with better energy, sharper focus, and deeper, more restorative sleep. But here's where most people go wrong. They only focus on what happens at night. They don't understand that if you're not getting morning light, if you're not giving your body a consistent signal of when to be alert and when to rest, then your sleep will always be a struggle. Another powerful cue that shapes this rhythm is food timing. Eating at irregular times, especially late at night, tells your body to stay in a digestive, active mode when it should be winding down. Consistent mealtimes, especially earlier in the day, help reinforce the sleep-wake cycle. Even exercise plays a role. Training too late in the evening can push your rhythm forward, making it harder to fall asleep on time. Everything you do is either pulling your rhythm into alignment or pushing it further out of sync. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Wake up at the same time every day, get that morning sunlight, avoid bright artificial light at night, align your meals and activity with your sleep-wake cycle. These may seem like small actions, but they create powerful shifts in your physiology. They restore the natural rhythm that most of us have lost touch with. The beauty of the circadian rhythm is that once you start to reinforce it properly, it begins to work for you automatically. You'll find yourself waking up without an alarm, falling asleep without effort, feeling more alert at the right times and more relaxed when it matters most. That's not just good sleep, that's optimized living. Perfecting your sleep doesn't start when your head hits the pillow. It starts with aligning your biology to the rhythm it's been designed to follow all along. If you want to master your sleep, you need to understand that one of the most powerful levers you have is light. It's not just some background detail of your environment. It's the single most potent cue for regulating your internal clock. And when you use it correctly, light becomes your greatest ally in training your brain and body to feel alert during the day and wind down at night without resistance. The human nervous system evolved under conditions where light from the sun rose gradually in the morning and disappeared completely at night. That shift in light intensity signaled the body when to be active, when to focus, and when to rest. Today, we live in a world where we're surrounded by artificial lighting 24/7. Phones, laptops, overhead lights. They all emit signals that trick the brain into thinking it's still daytime, and when that happens, your sleep quality pays the price. There's a very specific type of light your eyes are looking for, and it's found in natural sunlight, especially early in the day. When you view sunlight in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, you send a signal to the master clock in your brain that it's time to be awake and alert. That signal aligns your entire circadian rhythm. It starts a timer that affects when you'll start to feel sleepy later in the evening. It's not about the warmth of the sun or how bright the day seems. It's about the angle and intensity of light that tells your biology what time it is. This is why simply turning on your indoor lights in the morning doesn't cut it. Indoor lighting is orders of magnitude less intense than natural sunlight. Even a cloudy day outdoors provides far more of the necessary light stimulus than the brightest indoor bulb. So if you want to build high-quality sleep, step outside in the morning, no sunglasses, no window glass in between, and let your eyes take in that natural light for 5 to 10 minutes. On cloudy days, you may need a bit longer, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but the key is to make it part of your daily rhythm. It's simple, but it's powerful. Now, light doesn't just matter in the morning. It matters at night too. The same pathways that make you feel alert in the morning can keep you awake long past your ideal bedtime if you're exposed to bright light in the evening. Blue light from screens is especially disruptive because it's exactly the kind of signal your brain interprets as daylight. If you're blasting your eyes with phone screens or overhead LED in the last few hours before bed, you're telling your brain to stay alert when it should be preparing for rest. What that means in practice is that you need to control your light environment just as deliberately as you would control your nutrition or your training. Dim the lights in your home as you get closer to bedtime. Shift your screens to night mode, or even better, shut them off altogether an hour before sleep. Use lamps, salt lights, or candles. Lower temperature lighting that won't interfere with melatonin in production. These habits reinforce the natural rise and fall of your alertness, and over time, they make falling asleep feel automatic. This isn't about being extreme. You don't need to live like a monk or avoid technology altogether. What matters is being strategic. Get as much natural light as you can in the early part of the day and reduce artificial light exposure in the evening. That rhythm of light exposure is the language your body understands. When you speak that language fluently, light early, dark late, your brain responds with better hormone regulation, more predictable sleep patterns, and deeper recovery every night. You don't have to fix your sleep through willpower alone. Let light do the heavy lifting, because when you time your exposure right, you're not fighting biology anymore, you're flowing with it. One of the most overlooked but incredibly powerful factors that influence how quickly you fall asleep and how deeply you stay asleep is your body temperature. Most people don't realize that the process of falling asleep is not just about slowing your thoughts or dimming the lights. It's about cooling down. Your body has to drop its core temperature by about 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit in order to transition into sleep. That drop isn't a side effect of sleep. It's actually a driver of it. Throughout the day, your body temperature fluctuates in a predictable rhythm, rising in the morning, peaking in the late afternoon, and then beginning to fall as evening approaches. That downward shift is part of your circadian rhythm, and when it happens smoothly, it sends a signal to your brain and body that it's time to rest. But if your environment or your habits interfere with that cooling process, sleep becomes a challenge. One of the most effective ways to leverage this natural mechanism is to use heat strategically. It may seem counterintuitive, but taking a warm shower or bath about 90 minutes before bed can actually help your body cool down faster. When you expose yourself to heat, the blood vessels near the surface of your skin dilate, allowing more blood to circulate to the extremities. This increased circulation helps release internal heat from your core. After the warm exposure ends and your skin begins to cool, your core body temperature drops more rapidly, making it easier to fall asleep. The same principle applies to your sleep environment. The ideal room temperature for sleep is cooler than most people think, somewhere between 60 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit or around 16 to 20 degrees Celsius. A cooler room mimics the natural drop in body temperature that occurs at night and supports deeper stages of sleep. It's not just about comfort, it's about physiology. When the room is too warm, your body struggles to lose heat, and that can lead to restlessness, frequent waking, or lighter sleep stages. What's also important is how you regulate temperature at the skin level. Breathable bedding, cool, touch fabrics, and even sleeping with your feet or hands exposed can help offload excess heat. Your palms and soles are some of the most efficient surfaces for heat exchange in the body, so giving them access to cooler air can make a surprising difference. All of this shows how temperature isn't just background noise, it's a direct control knob for sleep depth and quality. And just like with light, when you start aligning your behaviors with your body's natural thermal rhythm, you begin to unlock more consistent, restorative sleep. You're no longer working against your biology, you're supporting it in doing what it's already designed to do. If you want to sleep better, don't just focus on what you do in the dark. Start focusing on how you help your body cool down before you even get into bed. Sleep isn't just about what you add to your life. It's just as much about what you remove. And some of the most common substances and habits that people rely on daily are actually the biggest enemies of deep, restorative sleep. Things like caffeine, alcohol, and screen exposure might feel harmless or even helpful, but they can silently rob you of the sleep your brain and body need to function at their best. Caffeine is the most widely consumed stimulant on the planet, and while it can absolutely be a useful tool for boosting focus and alertness, timing is everything. The mistake most people make is assuming that because they don't feel jittery, the caffeine is out of their system. But caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours. That means if you drink a cup of coffee at 3 p.m., a significant portion of that stimulant is still circulating in your brain by 9 or 10 p.m. Even if you fall asleep, the quality of your sleep is compromised, especially the deep, slow-wave sleep that's critical for physical recovery and memory consolidation. So, if you want to protect your sleep, cut off caffeine intake by early afternoon, ideally no later than 2 p.m. Alcohol presents a different kind of problem. It might help you fall asleep faster because it depresses the nervous system, but that sedation isn't real sleep. It fragments your sleep architecture, particularly REM sleep, which is vital for emotional processing and creativity. You might pass out quickly after a drink or two, but chances are you'll wake up more during the night, feel groggier in the morning, and miss out on the mental and emotional reset that high-quality sleep provides. If you're serious about improving your sleep, cutting back or avoiding alcohol in the evening hours is one of the smartest moves you can make. Then there's blue light, the kind of light that comes from screens, phones, tablets, laptops, and most modern LED. Blue light suppresses melatonin production, and melatonin is the hormone that tells your brain it's time to start winding down. If you're staring at screens in the hour or two before bed, you're telling your brain it's still daytime. That keeps your alertness elevated and delays the natural onset of sleepiness. It also pushes your sleep cycle later, which can make it harder to fall asleep at your ideal time, and even harder to wake up feeling refreshed. These three factors, caffeine, alcohol, and light exposure, aren't minor details. They're major disruptors, and the problem is, most people engage with all three daily without realizing the cost to their sleep. But once you become aware of how they work, you can start building in boundaries. Replace late, after, noon caffeine with hydration, swap out nightly drinks with calming herbal teas, set a digital sunset, turn off or dim screens, and switch to warmer lighting as bedtime approaches. Your brain knows how to sleep. Your body is wired to do it well, but it can only perform if you stop sending mixed signals. The fewer obstacles you place in your system's way, the more effortlessly it will return to the kind of sleep that restores, repairs, and prepares you to perform again tomorrow. If there's one habit that has the most powerful impact on your sleep quality, it's not what time you go to bed, it's what time you wake up. Consistency in your wake-up time is the anchor that sets your entire circadian rhythm in motion. Most people put all their focus on trying to fall asleep faster or sleep longer, but they miss the point that your brain and body crave rhythm, and the most effective way to build that rhythm is by waking up at the same time every single day, even on weekends. When you wake up at a consistent hour, especially when combined with morning light exposure, you create a reliable signal for your internal clock. That signal sets off a chain reaction. Your cortisol pulse rises to support alertness, your temperature starts to climb, and you initiate the countdown for melatonin in release later in the evening. It's like hitting the start button on a 24-hour internal system that governs everything from your mood to your immune function. But when you sleep in on weekends or wake at inconsistent times, you confuse that system. You delay your natural energy spike, shift your temperature rhythm, and disrupt the precise timing of sleep pressure. This not only makes it harder to fall asleep the next night, it also increases the likelihood of feeling groggy during the day. That's why even after a long night's sleep, people often wake up feeling unrefreshed. Their rhythm is out of sync, not their duration. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is stability. If you can give your system a predictable wake-up time, even within a 30-minute window, you create a stable anchor for all your other behaviors. Your eating, training, thinking, and resting all start to fall into a more natural flow. You begin to feel tired when you're supposed to, alert when it's time to focus, and relaxed when the day is done. Sleep isn't something you make happen. It's something you allow to happen by setting the right conditions. And the most reliable condition you can create is a fixed wake-up time. It's simple, it doesn't require supplements or technology, and it's entirely within your control. When you get that one piece right, everything else begins to shift into place. One of the most powerful things you can do to deepen the quality of your sleep is to establish a reliable wind-down routine. The transition from wakefulness to sleep isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like dimming a light. Your nervous system doesn't go from high alert to total calm in an instant. It needs cues, consistent ones, to signal that it's safe to slow down, to shift from doing to resting. And when you create that signal each night, in the same way, at the same time, your body starts to anticipate sleep. It becomes automatic. Most people rush into bed straight from stimulating activities, scrolling on their phones, watching intense shows, replying to emails, and they expect sleep to just take over. But if you're keeping your mind engaged, your stress hormones active, and your heart rate elevated right up until you lie down, your system doesn't stand a chance of relaxing deeply. Sleep doesn't come from exhaustion. It comes from preparation. That's why a deliberate wind-down routine is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It doesn't have to be complicated. The key is repetition and rhythm. Set a time each night to begin the process. Maybe an hour before bed. Dim the lights, put away stimulating devices, and engage in activities that tell your brain it's time to let go. That might mean reading something calming, journaling to clear your thoughts, doing light stretching, or listening to soothing music. Even just sitting in silence or taking a few slow, deep breaths can send the right signal. One of the most effective tools is sleep deep rest protocols like yoga nidra or guided body scans. These practices lower heart rate, decrease cortisol, and prepare your brain for sleep in a way that nothing else can. They don't require effort, they require stillness. And when you pair these techniques with consistency, your brain begins to link those patterns with sleep onset. Over time, the moment you begin your wind down, your body starts preparing for sleep before your head even hits the pillow. The world we live in is fast, bright, and loud. If you don't create a buffer between that and your rest, you'll carry that noise into the night. But when you give your system space to slow down consistently, gently, and deliberately, you turn sleep into something that flows naturally instead of something you chase. The path to perfecting your sleep isn't about hacks or quick fixes. It's about understanding and aligning with the natural systems already built into your body. When you respect the rhythms of light, temperature, and consistency, when you remove stimulants that confuse your biology, when you create space to wind down each night, you're not forcing sleep, you're allowing it. And the results show up everywhere: sharper focus, deeper energy, stronger immune function, better emotional control. Sleep becomes your foundation, not just for recovery, but for a life lived with clarity, strength, and purpose. Make it a priority, and everything else begins to rise with it.